Hi everybody, it's Ben Chai, the Doctor Who of Business, just joining me for the first time. I handle a lot of business around the world in terms of speaking on people's stages, and for special people I do a little bit of coaching and working with them. In addition to that, I'm an author for a book called Social Magnetism and love to dance. So there you go. There's a few things that I do. Now, today I want to share something called FUD and how it's used by manipulators to impact either your social life or your business. And it's a very, very subtle thing that I'm about to share with you. And it was used very, very effectively against me recently. With a person who helps me run a business, and they didn't realize that the manipulator, what they were doing, because advanced manipulators actually know your personality and how you'll react. So this is the subject of today's talk, and it's also based on a lot of recent conversations where people have been saying, Ben, so what do you think of Freddie or Johnny or blah, 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 blah? They've made lots of money, and they're really successful. And I said, are you sure about this? Because that is their branding, and that's what the whole FUD industry is trying to do by giving you this fear of losing out. Okay, anyway, so again, just a summary of what this talk is about. It's about manipulators and how they will subtly cause you to lose some great relationships or lose business using a technique called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Now, one of the first things I'm going to share is how to identify the manipulators. And there, if you Google how to identify a manipulator in your life, there are quite a lot of articles on that. But I'm going to share some of the top 5 things that I see used a lot. The first one is what I call the martyr syndrome. So these people, they look like they're going to give you value. They'll volunteer for lots and lots of different things, perhaps, and it seems like they're a really nice person. But immediately, and this is the where you get the indicator, immediately there's a problem, they will start to complain in some way. Either I'm doing all this work and nobody cares about me, or so-and-so said this about me and I've just been trying to help them, and so on. So this gives you an indicator that something is going on, because you think, well, why are you continually volunteering for all these things then? Yeah. When if it's so bad, don't volunteer, don't ask to help out. The second thing that they do is they use FUD. And FUD is a technique that came out roughly in 1975 by someone who worked at a company called Amdahl, which was a great mainframe computer company. And then and this guy went to start up a company and work with a company called IBM. And IBM used FUD very effectively in the 80s to cause fear, uncertainty, and doubt. That's what FUD stands for. And one of the slogans in the 90s, 80s was nobody ever got fired for buying IBM. And so it put in the head of the buyers that if they bought something else and it went wrong, that they would be fired. So that's the fear bit. And the uncertainty is like, are you sure this competitor's product will work? Because you should perhaps do some due diligence on it, because I've heard bad reports. But they will never give you something concrete. And I've seen this be used very effectively in media and by politicians. As you know, I'm in property, and there is a lady who comes from media but runs a property group. And she tried to get me to join a haters group about some person. And she said, oh, do you know that this guy is a scam artist, according to a lot of people? So she never actually said, I think he's a scam artist and he's done this to me. She actually said, you should perhaps not do business with him because I've heard. So she never said it, or potentially that person is a bad person. So this is the uncertainty. Now, when I did Google that person, the only information about a scam artist that I could find was on her site, right? And then later on, she went after me. She said, oh, well, potentially Ben may not be a great person because I had this conversation with him and potentially, so she kept using this word potentially. She never said, well, actually, this is what I found out, and this was totally untrue. So that's how they spread uncertainty in you about that person, and then doubt. Doubt is a big thing. Yes. I like doing a little. I have to admit, play the devil's advocate every so often by saying, "Are you sure?" which creates the doubt. And really, I'm doing the "Are you sure?" because I want to see how strong people are actually married to their vision and what they're actually trying to achieve before I can actually coach and mentor them. So FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Those are three key components that were used quite extensively in the 80s. And unfortunately, it's used a lot in the security industry, which prevents the real security from being released. So people are always saying, well, your entire network and all your data could be compromised if you don't do X, Y, Z. That's the straight fair. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. Maybe you should do the statistics. So FUD, and I'm going to say how later on FUD is used with somebody's personality, because over time people will see that you're using this fear concept to scare people from doing things. The third thing about manipulators is they tend to use guilt a lot on people. So like, hey, I'm doing all this work and you aren't doing any work. That's a standard guilt technique. Rather than saying, listen, I don't feel the relationship is a fair relationship in business. Could you help me out and understand what you're contributing? Or if they've agreed something. So for example, if you're the financial backer and you said, listen, I don't want to have anything to do with the business, then they should not be using that technique on you, because that was agreed right at the beginning. And as you know, I'm always saying, guys, you must share right up front what you're about and what you don't want. And as many of you know, if you want me to be a part of your business, I will tell you very upfront that once I've got you to the millionaire or 2 millionaire or whatever the set goals, I'm out of the business. So I don't want you to give me a hassle if I'm still getting income from an agreed share that we set ages ago. So, but the people who've taken me up on that offer know that they would never have got to that stage in the first place. So it's what you want. The next, the fourth component that people with the master manipulators use is they have a victim mentality. So remember, they're doing all the work. They're using FUD, and FUD never, ever, ever says that anyone is bad. It just instills uncertainty in you. Very clever with that. But they also play the victim role. So, I'm overloaded because of this, and it's never their fault. It's never because they made the choice. I'm very big on choices. So I get overloaded, but I know it's my choice. I know if I'm stressed, it's been my choice. Even some of the bad disasters that I've had in my life, where I've lost through bad relationships, it's really my fault, because I chose that person as a business partner. And when I saw little things changing in their personality, I didn't do anything about it there. In England, we just hate confrontation, but I should have done something about it. So they play this victim role. The next thing that you'll find with manipulators is they also have a one-upmanship mentality. And this one-upmanship may be like, you could say, oh, I'm really overloaded. And they'll say, oh, that's not as much as overloaded as I am. Or they'll want to show that they have more whatever than you do. I think everyone has this understanding of one-upmanship. And again, you'll see me I might play the one-upmanship game just for fun, but if it looks serious, I'll just walk from the person, because then that's a pure ego thing that's happening. And finally, the advanced manipulators, they've actually spent enough time around you, yes, you, so they know all your buttons to press. And in the recent scenario, where somebody who has known me forever, yes, absolute ever, for 20 years of their life, were played by this guy. And all the guy said is, HMRC has sent us a fine. Do you know what's going on there? That's all they said. Now, first of all, and then this person went after me and said, oh, blah, 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 myself, we haven't had any communication from you, and it looks like HMRC are coming after us. Now, actually, I did write them an email a month ago, and which outlines that actually HMRC had made an error, and over the next month, they'll be sending us extra automated, notices to say that we're going to be fined, but that's just their computer system. And that was all in my email. Now, here's the thing. The guy knew that our colleague would react that way. And my colleague kept saying it's nothing to do with him, the manipulator. But the manipulator knew that my colleague has not been here for 3 months. That's number one. The second thing, the manipulator also knew he's in charge of the accounts. So why didn't he just come and ask me straight? Now, he might say, oh, it was just a thing, but I happen to know this person who actually is ex-IBM, the founders of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And perhaps, again, my fault, perhaps if I thought about it ages ago, I would not have allowed this person, who we've made nearly £1 million in property, into my world. So totally, again, my fault. But again, this gives you, I hope, an understanding of how some of these people, they creep into your life and they can totally mess up really solid foundational relationships that you have with people. And this person knows that I have been with them for over 20 years, and they've had some very bad times, and I've supported them financially and in a whole bunch of other areas. And for them to suddenly start accusing me, because it went on to a very aggressive discussion afterwards that they need to protect themselves and they need to do a whole bunch of things. And I'm thinking, that came out of one little comment by the manipulator. So guys, just very, very important, you understand FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It is a marketing technique. You can Google it. There's a whole wiki reference to it and where it's worked. It's used very effectively on people to break up their relationships, strong relationships, and it's also used to gain business for people. Now, so I've told you how to recognize a manipulator, and please, you can Google the articles on this, but how and what is the long-term impact of this? Well, here's the interesting thing. Over time, not immediately, but over time, the people using FUD will get found out. Over time. So you may be the brunt of a short-term impact, and it's very sad. I'm sorry if your relationship or a business relationship got messed up because of it. You have to really, really look at the people around you and think about what they've done and are doing for you before you make an attack on them. Just think, like they've been supporting me for 20 years, so there's not a chance that they would ever lie to me. There's not a chance that they would do this. So why am I thinking like this? Now that it's very unlikely that someone who has been with you for so long would suddenly switch, unless they've got a new partner in their life and they've spent 2 or 3 or 4 years with that partner, and over time their personality becomes like that partner. It takes time though, so it won't happen overnight. The next thing is, these people who have spread FUD, the ones that I know, they today are nowhere really, or maybe they have some great income. But for example, this guy who's doing the manipulating, his children have never left his house, and they are over. So one's nearly 30, and so on. And here he is. He's this great business person, but I can be pretty sure he's been using FUD within his own family, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and this one-upmanship of wanting to provide more than any other person in the street has made his children either very dependent on him, or manipulated so much that they're scared to make a decision. So you will see these indicators over time in somebody's life. Anyway, guys, that's my impromptu Facebook Live today on manipulators, how to identify them. So I've given you 6 components. They've got this martyr syndrome. They use FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. They use your guilt to manipulate you. They may play a victim role. There may be some one-upmanship. They know, the advanced ones have spent time getting to know you, and they know your buttons to press to cause certain reactions in you, which they could say just a sentence like, have you checked the blah 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 blah, the HMRC in this case, because we're getting fined. Knowing that you would feel it's your responsibility to go and find out, when it's actually their responsibility to sort something out. Hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you. Have a great weekend, and bye for now.